And it is a major development in connection with the probe in the Saradha scam. The former DGP of Assam, Shankar Barua, who is being probed in connection with the chit fund scam, has committed suicide. Barua's house in Guwahati was recently raided and he was also summoned for questioning by the CBI. The former Assam top cop shot himself with his revolver at his home and his body was recovered in the morning today. Indrajit Kundu, our correspondent who's been tracking the story very closely, now joining us live. Indro, really, this is going to be a setback for the case in a big way. But if you can actually shed light on what Barua's role was in this chit fund scam, we do understand that the CBI had in fact questioned him and his house had also been raided.
Well, that's right. He is one of the suspects that the CBI was questioning as far as the Saradha probe in Assam was concerned. Shankar Sharma's role in the scam, his role in the spread of a Saradha group in Assam was being probed by the CBI. He has already been questioned by the CBI once. His house was raided earlier in Guwahati. And what we are learning is that just a few days back, he had got himself admitted in one of the private hospitals in Guwahati after he complained that he was not feeling well. It was only this morning at around 11:30 that he was discharged and he came back to his residence in Guwahati. And soon after that, he shot himself using his own revolver. He was rushed to one of the private hospitals in Guwahati nearby, where the doctors said that he was declared dead. So a huge setback as far as the Saradha scam probe is concerned. But it does talk about the relationship that influential people, not only in West Bengal, but in Assam, in Orissa, they shared with the Saradha group and they helped Saradha to expand its activities beyond the boundaries of West Bengal. These are influential people that we are talking about. Just a few days back, we saw that former DGP of West Bengal, Rajat Majumdar,
Indra, I'll just have to ask you to just hang on there. Just hang on there. We have Rajdeep Barua, a journalist, joining us on the phone line. Sir, this is definitely a shocking twist, definitely going to cause a setback to the probe in the CBI's investigation of the Saradha scam. But like Indro has in fact been sort of shedding light on Barua's role, if you can actually do that, because we understand that the CBI had raided his home recently, had taken him in for questioning, and then he's committed suicide.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shocking news so far as the Saradha scam is concerned. Mr. Barua, he was summoned by CBI for questioning. And at the very beginning, I should tell you that when the CBI started the entire probe, they just questioned him and they raided his house also in Guwahati. And later on, when he was summoned for the second time, that was being told by the officials that he was admitted into the hospital, the Guwahati downtown hospital. Today morning at around 11:35, he was being released from the hospital. After reaching his home, his PSO, who was on his duty, he just came out from the room, and Mr. Barua, shockingly, he just shot himself. So it may affect the entire probe, I think, right. And especially I should say that the many politicians whose name in this lineup, and I should tell you one more thing, that Mr. Barua, he was the main accused against him, main allegation against him was that he has managed the entire police system here in Guwahati.
So I'm sorry, can you repeat that? What was the main accusation against him?
The main accusation against him was that he took money from this Saradha group, Mr. Sudip Tosen.
Okay.
So that's why the entire allegation is all about. And after that, the CBI summoned him, and he was a reputed police officer. He was one of the IPS officer from Assam. So his death, especially today in this hour, is a big news for Assam people.
Absolutely. Rajdeep Barua, a journalist from Assam, thank you so much for speaking with Headlines today. Indra, let me come back to you. We were talking about how the case is going to be suffered a major setback with the suicide of Barua. But at the same time, this sort of sheds light on, on the murkiness of this entire case.
Well, that's right, Sanjana. That's exactly what we have been reporting. That is exactly what the CBI is trying to probe. They're trying to, make a list of all the beneficiaries, all those influential people who took monetary benefits from Saradha Group. Rajat Majumdar, one such person who is now behind the bars. He has been arrested by the CBI. CBI officials tell us that they have proof that Rajat Majumdar was engaged in destruction of evidence. That's the reason why CBI felt it was necessary for him to be arrested. Now, Rajat Majumdar is the former DGP of Armed Police here in West Bengal, and he's a key Trinamool Congress leader. That's the same modus operandi not only in West Bengal, be it in Odisha or in Assam. What we see is that the Saradha group, had brought very influential people in its fold so that they could manage the system, so that they could subvert the system. Mostly we see these are politicians, bureaucrats and top police officials, and that's the reason why, as the CBI believes, that it could not have been possible without the help and assistance of senior bureaucrats, officials engaged with the SEBI, with RBI. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to spread such a wide net and nexus as far as the Saradha scam is concerned. And this is slowly coming out. That's the reason why, even as pressure is mounting on all these bureaucrats, we've seen so many people have been interrogated, questioned, summoned. Therefore, the stakes are very high for these individuals. In Assam, at least, there are 3 key individuals who have been questioned, who have been summoned once, or whose house have been raided. One is a key politician, the dissident faction of Assam Congress, Himanta Biswa Sarma. He is a former minister in the Tarun Gogoi cabinet. Then there is Shankar Barua, whose case we are talking about. And then there is Saradha Gogoi, a very renowned singer from Assam. These are very influential people, and Saradha somehow wanted to use their influence in the society, in the system, to be able to spread its net across all these states. And that's the same modus operandi not only in West Bengal but also in Odisha and Assam.
Right, and Indru, if just on the whole, if you can just give us an idea, we know that the CBI has registered 48 cases, so that's about 4 in Bengal but a whopping 44 in Odisha on the directions of the Supreme Court. So moreover, we know that we've seen all these high profile names come out in West Bengal, but now with the suicide of Shankar Barua, the attention shifting definitely more on Odisha and the sort of the murkiness of this scam.
Well, Sanjana, that is exactly the reason why the petitions which were made by some of the petitioners from West Bengal who moved Supreme Court in the very first place, because look, the West Bengal government from the very beginning was very hesitant handing over the probe to the CBI. They had formed an SIT, something which was moving ahead with the probe in at a very slow pace, and that was the allegation that the West Bengal government was trying to hush up the entire probe by handing it over to the state police and forming an SIT. The logic that was given was that this case involves several states, and it involves the police of several states and their bureaucracies. So it was not possible for one particular police from one state to probably unearth the entire story, and that's the reason why a central agency like CBI was crucial, because it had to probe roles of central agencies like SEBI and RBI. That's the reason why the petition was filed before the Supreme Court. Now, even though the Assam government welcomed the CBI probe, they themselves had handed over the probe to CBI. Same with the Odisha government. The West Bengal government was very hesitant. That's the reason why the Supreme Court had to intervene and call for a CBI probe into the entire Saradha chit fund scam. We saw last week what happened in Odisha. 2 media barons were arrested with regard to the Artha Tattva group, which the CBI stumbled upon while they were probing the Saradha scam. And here you have in Assam several influential people. What we are seeing, the modus operandi is very similar. Right. What the Saradha group did was they were trying to bring in people who are influential, people who are close to the government of that state. They were trying to bring those people into its fold so that they can subvert the system. And that's exactly what we have seen not only in West Bengal but both in Odisha as well as in Assam.